Hello, Sagittarius, my fiery friends. Welcome to your reading with me, Cindy. So, Sagittarius, we're going to look at your past, present, and future energies. And I'm using a different deck for you today. I've been using sort of a different oracle deck off and on as I've been working through the zodiac. And I was looking at your little card. I was just getting ready to pull in your energy here. And I kept like focusing on the red fireball behind your depiction, the centaur. And I thought, I feel like I'm meant to pick up a deck that has a lot of red in it. And this is really, well, besides my fortune cookie deck, is my archetype deck, this archetype deck. So we're going to use this deck, and I'm going to use my modern day Spellcasters Tarot. And we'll see if I pick up a teeny tiny one along the way. So that's what this is going to be, Sagittarius. We're going to look at your past, present, and future energies, sort of based on archetypal energy. There's also a light and a shadow to each of these. I will briefly look at the shadow just so that you know what it says on the card, to think about if that's something you were working through. Yeah, so that's different. So let's get started, Sagittarius. There is going to be an extended. So if you're drawn to it, the link to that will be at the top of the description within this video. All right, Sagittarius. Sagittarius, past, present, and future. Past, seeker. The light attribute, thirst for wisdom and truth wherever they are. Now, before I read to you the shadow, I want to say for myself, it feels very Eight of Cups. It feels very Eight of Cups with a dash of Hermit energy. So in the past, you were seeking something from deep within, and I feel like you had to remove yourself. You had to remove yourself from outside distractions, anything that you may actually have been triggered emotionally by, like that sort of Eight of Cups energy, just removing yourself from that. Now, the shadow of this is an inability to commit to a path once found. So that's interesting. That is the shadow. The seeker. So it's almost as if, you know, maybe you find a path, and it could be a pretty good path, but there's something about not wanting to commit to it. There's a possibility in your past here. And maybe the path, I really feel like, this is funny. I didn't think I was going to focus so much on the shadow, but it's actually speaking to me a lot about the light. So I feel as though if you were on a path in the past, any elements of paths in your life, there may have been a feeling of lack in terms of what you could gain from it. What kind of truth could be found on the path? How you could really grow from the path. So it does have a bit of that feeling, you know, how, here's like two almost examples of different people who grow in different ways. Like you can know someone who, the person who would have the ability to commit to a path once found and then not really deviate from it. It's almost like if you knew someone who had their life planned out for them. They went to high school. They knew exactly what college or university they were going to go to, what they wanted to become. They did it. They took those courses. They graduated. They went right from there. They knew exactly which business or who they wanted to work for or what business they wanted to create. They met their perfect partner, like in university or something, just, and then everything, and they've lived in the same house for the last 25 years. Like that's the kind of person that stayed on a path and they never got off it. But yours feels more like, no, I don't do that path. Just hearing that, I'm not doing that path. I haven't done that path, because there's a different desire for you to find like more wisdom within and more experience outside of one single path. Wow, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? Just for your past. Okay, presently. Ooh, Messiah. Light attributes, serving humanity with humility. Ooh, see, this is a more profound path than the other one. Not to say the one path is better than the other, but it feels like whatever path you took, like literally, I really said this is almost like the Eight of Cups and the Hermit. So it's a very spiritual energy. And then presently you come out with Messiah. So being able to have a broader view because you came off a path. Now the shadow, exaggerated belief that you are the only means through which a cause can succeed. That's interesting because this reminds me of something that came up for someone's extended. Who was that? I can't remember now. And it was it? I don't know if it was Taurus or Gemini. I can't remember. But it was kind of the sense of having gone through something difficult in life, having surmounted a lot of obstacles and hard points of contact, I'm hearing, in one's life, and really been the one to rise up from that and create even something with that. And then ending up in some sort of position of some kind of authority. And, you know, it could be a spiritual authority. It could be an authority at some sort of business that you created, but you almost become tyrannical with it, like a tyrant. And if we think of most dictators, have come from lives where they often had very little and they had to struggle and accomplish things, a lot of times through military accomplishments or political or, you know, whatever they accomplished. But because they were able to raise themselves up from something very difficult, they take with it that they are the ones that know. So that's a little bit of what the shadow could be for this Messiah. So it's almost as if to just say, you know what, even though you may have been through something and you have chosen a very unique path and it sets you up in a very unique way to actually serve the betterment of humanity, do it in a very humble way. I always see the Hermit as a very humble energy. So don't lose that from what you had in the past that got you to where you are now. Because the minute we start to see that we are the only ones that have the answer, well, then we become the problem. So that's good to know, right? So in the future, you have Child Eternal, the light attribute, determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, ability to see things with fresh eyes. Oh, that feels so good, doesn't it? It really feels like getting in touch with your inner child, with your deeper soul, and allowing that to guide you, as opposed to the ego, the mind, other people's ideas of what perhaps you should be doing in this lifetime. Now, the shadow of that is inability to grow up and be responsible, extreme dependency on others for physical security. Okay, so there could be possibly a problem. I want to say that's almost like a codependent energy with the shadow attribute. So that's important too. Because to really hang on to this sort of Messiah energy, serving humanity with humility, if you lose the ability to look after your own physical security, or you don't gain that, you don't necessarily become fully responsible for self. And to be fully responsible for self feels like a more holistic way to be able to serve humanity with humility. Oh, the bottom is artist. Light attribute. Expression a dimension of life that is just beyond the five senses. Inspiring others to see life symbolically. The shadow. Using talent as an excuse to mistreat others. Posing as the starving artist to elicit pity. Oh, that actually kind of has a little bit of the shadow energy here to me. Of inability to grow up and be responsible, extreme dependency on others for physical security. Kind of reminds me of the starving artist who's always living on their friend's couch or living in their friend's basement, and then it's this place. And then they get upset when they get kicked out. Like, well, I need my couch back. First, I have to shampoo it and just because you've been literally living on it for 6 months. Interesting energy, Sagittarius. And you know, too, that example I gave of someone whose life seems so paved out for them, there could be a lot of detours that take, like, even you're saying, well, that seems more like my life, Cindy. But there could be some detours that come up within the main path and for ways to explore. Like, I have a couple of friends that I can think of that have lives like that, But there are always these other little detours that they take on more personal excursions, personal fulfillment and personal exploration that they do engage in that sort of a life. So that is actually speaking of that as well for you. So your thirst for wisdom. And maybe there's a fear, wow, will I come right off this path if I do that? Maybe you've thought about that, you know, in your past, but it's always hard to make sentences where path and past are coming up together. I think it's okay to deviate from a path. And even for those that, you know, I don't want to come off this main path permanently. I still want to go back to this path. I just want to come over here for a little bit and maybe take an art course or something, you know, not be home to make dinner for everyone or clean the dishes and that's okay too. So we're going to go into the tarot. We're going to pull 3 cards out. Oh, well, whatever you're doing, you're doing it good. You're doing it right. Wow. You know, okay, I'm going to tell you, I think whatever you've done, you know, you can never say that somebody's done some sort of internal work and it didn't come out with some good results. Really, that's really showing up here in a big way. Yeah, wow. You have the 8 of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, and the 10 of Swords. This is facing something head on. Facing it head on. Facing it in the hardest way. This is almost like locking yourself in a room and saying, I'm not coming out until I can handle this with myself, or whatever it is. Like, it's intense. Like, look at this. Look at, this is just like charging in to end something here finally. It's curious, the 8 of Pentacles sitting here. It almost feels like you may have pulled away from work in the past. You may have pulled away from the work that you were doing, because this Knight is charging away from the 8 of Pentacles. Making like sort of a nest egg, doing some sort of work that's preparing for a rainy day. I really feel like it's a shift in where you were directing your energy and how you were. From something outside of you with the 8 of Pentacles to something a lot more internal. And something ended within you. There's literally like the end of something inside you that doesn't exist anymore. And this wisdom, I feel like, is the wisdom to know who you are. And the truth wherever you are is you. Is always knowing your truth and who you are. But this isn't, this is a very courageous energy. And I talk about courage sometimes on my channel. And whenever I talk about it, I feel that the greatest courage is the courage when we face something on our own. And when I mean on our own, and I don't mean that in a sense of not asking others for help when you really need it. That's not courageous. That can be stupid. Like if you're carrying like 300 pounds, I'm okay, I'm going to break my back. That's really dumb. Don't do that. It's looking at yourself. Like that takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to look at ourselves. Because it's so much easier just to project. I was watching a movie last night. What was it called? Good Feelings? I can't remember what it was called. Oh, this guy didn't deal with something so horrible that happened in his childhood. And he literally ended up projecting it onto everyone in his life until he became incredibly toxic. I was completely oblivious. He didn't give a shit. Like, boop, boop, boop. But he was destroying people around him with his toxicity. It was incredible. Yeah. So that's, you know, it's not as easy to just do that. I'm just going to project my shit with everyone else. But to face something here, to face something and to end it. Now, where you are right now. With the Messiah, you have the Four of Wands, the King of Pentacles, and the Ace of Cups. Now, I don't know if you've come back to your work, which is really funny because now you have the King of Pentacles. And this felt like leaving something that was doing with work. If you could have left a job, you could have been debating about leaving a job. But whatever happened, I see you now at this point in time as being stronger now in your job than you were then. And if this is a new position at a new place, a new position where you've been for a while, it's like leveling up and no longer being someone that needs to prepare for a rainy day. You have more than enough. And maybe it's kind of the realization that it's not just what you accumulate around you physically, but how you stabilize yourself and how you show up in your life. And it just literally, it creates a sense of celebration and joy and new beginnings that are based on really healthy emotions. Really healthy emotions. And it also has a feeling of, you know, serving humanity with humility. This kind of feels like serving humanity as an example of what you can do in your life, how you'd like to show up. But this is a how you'd like to show up based more on doing internal work. This Knight of Swords to Ten of Swords is very internal work. And not just going and getting the right outfit and wearing the right crystals or, you know, making yourself look a certain archetype. This is actually being that archetype and maybe even not dressing or appearing as someone would think that your archetype energy would, but yet you still resonate it. And that actually makes it stand out and become more recognizable than if you were dressing to appear as a type of archetype. And now the future with the eternal child, you have the Three of Wands, you have the High Priestess, and then you have the King of Swords. The King of Swords is curious there. He's not talking. He does that often. So the Three of Wands and the High Priestess, this just has a feeling of let's go out and see what the day holds for us. You know, that idea of a little kid? I was thinking of a little kid. I can only relate to when I was a little kid. The kids today are much different. They spend a lot of times inside and playing with friends on electronics. But that sort of sense of getting up and not knowing who you're going to play with or what game you're going to play, what's going to happen when you get out there, and just going outside and, you know, there's a mystery. There's a mystery to be found, and let's see what comes in for me today. That seems the biggest aspect of this eternal child. Remain young in body and mind and spirit. Yeah, maybe this is what the King of Swords is. See things with fresh eyes. See things with fresh eyes. Let's look at that. That's the one thing I feel like I need to clarify. Oh, did I tell you at the bottom you have the Wheel of Fortune? So you are going through a big cycle shift. You have, or you're in process of a very big shift for yourself. It feels definitely energetically, intellectually. See things with fresh eyes with the King of Swords. Interesting how it landed on the Three of Wands and the Hierophant. The Knight of Swords and Temperance. Oh, not everything is needed to be destroyed. This is a hurry up and wait energy. It really is. Hurry up and wait. The Knight of Swords with Temperance. But here you had the Knight of Swords with the Ten of Swords. This could be a little bit of just like in the future, just talking about a knee-jerk reaction to how you've dealt with something in the past, how you dealt with something within yourself in the past, or a situation around you. It produced really good success. Like, we're looking at a really successful energy right here. Now, try to see things with fresh eyes. Don't get too caught up on the storyline over here. The storyline over here, because that's where you get the tyrannical energy, the tyrant, the dictator. Because this, I know this. I know how to get through this. I know how to get y'all through this. So, you know, most of us probably won't be dictators of small nations. So, and to apply it to your life, to go out and anticipate a new day, but go out without, you know, being armed in some way, being armed or defensive. Because it's as if the Knight of Swords comes out again. I got to deal with this quick. Temperance, just give it a minute. Just give it a minute and see if this actually fixes itself. So there might be something in your future to give it a minute and see if it actually fixes itself. So it might be something more external to you, as opposed to this feels very internal. So you don't need to apply what you experience internally to what you're about to experience externally. This is a very interesting reading. Wow, and then you have the Hanged Man at the bottom. And I stopped because it's reversed, but you know what it's reversed as? The Ten of Swords. And then it's the Nine of Wands under that, upright. The Hanged Man, the Ten of Swords reversed, the Nine of Wands. There's almost something, either something in your life right now or something in the future. I want to say, I think it's something in your life now, but it will be evolving over time. And so in the future, it's going to be something that, I don't know, there could be some sort of like knee-jerk reaction to it where I just need, you know, this isn't good. I need to cut this out. I need to be really quick and swift with this. But Temperance is almost sitting here like a balanced block, like a balanced block. And Temperance being your energy, it's asking you to alchemize. Sagittarius, you are the only one that is gifted with true alchemization based on, you know, having temperance, and temperance just feeling very much like alchemizing things. This is a situation where observe it from many different angles, almost outside of yourself. It feels like 9 swords have been put in here, but with this 10 of swords in reverse, it's as if this is not meant to end. It's meant for you to see how strong you actually are. And part of that strength is alchemizing and letting something fix itself. So that's that. I'm going to go do the extended Sagittarius. Really interesting energy. Good for you guys, whatever you've done. It's great energy here. Until next time, do be gentle with yourselves. Bye.